couple questions about the offense. Obviously, I think that's going to probably be a topic today. I'm just curious, when was the last time you called plays?
I called the first game, Marshall. So I've called a lot of plays over the years, but I called the Marshall game. I called last year, I called 2019.
Okay. I didn't have that full understanding. I'm just curious, scheme is a scheme, and there's not going to be a huge, a dramatic difference moving forward. So in this past week, I'm just curious, what was, not giving away the game plan, but what was kind of the focus on, I guess, tightening things up and how do you go about improving that side of the ball at this point?
That's a great question. You just go back to fundamentals. We know it works. We got to go back and execute. So the one thing we were encouraged coming out of, as we look back during the bye, we looked at our two games. Obviously, Air Force got after us. But looking at Marshall, I feel like we execute. We just didn't finish in the red zone, which we're normally pretty good at in the red zone. That's normally been our cup of tea, finish in the red zone. But we're on track, like I said, without the sacks, 385 rushing or whatever it was, 92 plays, 42 minutes. We just got to finish in the red zone. But then you look at Air Force, like I said, every game is different. And we just got to move on to the next one. We just got to execute. Guys are working hard. I was encouraged by the work ethic of our guys last week. I thought guys worked really hard and did a really good job. And so we just got to stay the course, get a little adversity. You just got to keep fighting through it.
And that's what I was going to ask about last week also, how, a good time to kind of have a week off and to kind of maybe kind of go back, I don't know if it's basics, but like you said, going back to the fundamentals and good time period to have that to be able to kind of address some things.
Yeah, it was a good week to have a bye, for a lot of reasons. A lot of things happened. So, just go back to the basics, continue to keep grinding, keep working, review things, see things that we did this year, things that we can get better at. So there's some stuff obviously we can work on, but there are some encouraging things too. We feel like things that we could build off.
And just last thing, and can you update us on how's Ty coming along?
Ty had a good weekend of rehab, and so he's going to come out and practice today and see how that goes. But we're encouraged by his progress, and he's going to do a little bit today, and we'll kind of see how we assess him after today.
Perfect. I'll pass it on. Thank you.
Thanks, Green.
Let's go to Scott Wyckoff.
Hey, Coach Scott Wyckoff, WBAL Radio in Baltimore and the Navy Radio Network. Why is it that Texas has become such a great recruiting base for the Naval Academy? I think we came into the season with 21 players from the state of Texas.
Yeah, it's always been a great state for us. Number one, football is very important to the state of Texas. High school football is huge in Texas. And so obviously the number of kids that play high school football, there's a ton of them in the state of Texas. Like for Maryland, for example, there's a lot of good players here, but, there's other sports, lacrosse, basketball. It's just Texas. There's so many schools that play high school football. The stadiums, you go there, and they're unbelievable. Some of the stadiums are like college stadiums. In fact, some of them are nicer than college stadiums. They put a lot into high school football. It fits, a lot of good schools. So academically, they fit kind of who we are. So good football, good grades. People aren't, there's a lot of people that serve in the military there. So I think it just kind of fits the Naval Academy. Football, the academics, good schools down there, and the military too component down there.
And I would imagine being in the American with a team like this week, Houston, being able to go down there and put on a strong performance helps in that recruiting.
Well, it always helps. Most definitely, it's a big reason why we're on the West, because of all of our recruiting in Texas. We recruit there a lot. all three service academies recruit there a lot. It's a big state for us. So playing there against SMU, playing there against Houston, Tulane, then Tulsa, kind of in that region, so we playing well, but especially when we go there, it helps. But playing against them and doing well also helps.
Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thanks, Scott.
Diane Roberts.
Hi, Diane Roberts, Behind the Lines Academy Football Report. As Kareem mentioned, of course, offense is kind of front and center. I wonder if you think, Coach, it's a personnel issue, an issue of just not reaching potential. What do you think the issue is on offense for your team?
I think it's a lot of things. It's, we got to do a better first and foremost job of putting our players in position to be successful. We have to coach better. We got to practice better. We got to play better. Some of it's a confidence issue too. We need something positive to happen to us. But I think when you're not playing very well, there's a lot of things. There's not one person, not one coach, not one position. There's a lot of things that got to get better. But like I said, I was encouraged, Diane, by just the leadership of this team. Nobody's quitting. They had a good week off season. Off week. Our bye week is a really good week of practice. And our guys continue to keep working. That's all you can do right now. There's so much flips and changes in the season. Just look at the course of the season, be interesting, see where we're at the end of the season. But, we're by far, we have so much to play for. And so, you look at these two games, see how you can improve and keep working to do that. And our kids have done that. So I'm encouraged by that. Coaches, we could, got to continue to work to get better. But with all that we have still to play for, it's a long season. We just got to keep going, got to keep grinding.
Is there one word you could use to describe how you see your offense over these past two games, given they've only scored 10 points? And as you've said yourself, that's not normal Navy football. What one word describes the offense to this point? Just
inconsistent. We just got to be, and with who we are, we just got to be a consistent team. We're not an option requires execution and just being consistent. And we got some young guys that are playing, but I'm encouraged by their growth. And we got to grow quickly. We obviously start our league play, this Saturday, but probably just inconsistency right now, Diane.
And lastly, I think, do you think not having one main quarterback, you've had injury issues, you haven't settled on a quarterback, do you think that's sort of holding back your offense?
It contributes. It's always great when you have a guy who's established himself that's when the quarterback, you can rally around him, the kids rally around him, your whole program rally around him. But, it definitely helps. There's very few schools or very few organizations or pro or college that, you can have dual quarterbacks. Spur used to do it back in the 90s, and some guys have done it, but normally it's not good. You want to settle on a guy.
Do you have an idea when you might be able to settle on that this season? That's my last question.
I think once we start playing well, I think when the guy takes that job, I think that's the biggest part. Once that person takes that job, we were kind of in this state. Telling our guys, can't remember what year it was, but Strauss, when we went to Notre Dame, Ireland. What year is that?
2012.
Was it
12? I think it was 12.
13.
Yeah.
But we were struggling.
2012 is correct.
Well, we got beat real bad by Notre Dame over there. Got beat bad by Penn State. We got two games we got crushed. We beat VMI.
Yep.
And then we lost to San Jose State. We got shut out by San Jose State.
Yep.
So we were 1-3, searching for ourselves. Went up to Air Force, and young freshman quarterback came off the bench, and the rest is history. And so I see a lot of similarities. Just we're an offense searching for identity, and hope one of them plays well because and takes that reign because you're right, Diane. I mean, when it's one person, then it kind of solidifies everything. You kind of get a philosophy, you kind of get a beat, you kind of get a pattern. When you're kind of going back and forth, it's a little bit hard to settle on. And so once that guy takes that job, wherever, we'll settle on as quickly as we can.
Thanks, Coach.
Pete, Matt Hurst.
Coach, you haven't had this type of inconsistency with the offense overall until they started tinkering around with the blocking rules. Is there any correlation to that? And as you all search for ways to obviously improve techniques, considering there are things that you can't do now that you were able to do when this thing ran like a well-oiled machine each and every year?
Well, there's some changes, but we've all had to make them. Air Forces had to make them, or Armies had to make them. Maybe that contributes to some of it, but I think mostly for us, we're not executing. I don't know if that's been the case for us. Pete, maybe it's contributed a little bit, but I don't know if it's been a big factor in playing like that. I mean, downfield, you got to stock block a little bit more, but guys just adjust that way. But I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think that'd be the case. I don't think so, Pete.
Coming into the season, one of the areas you guys were really high on and was your secondary. Obviously, losing Mitch now, and with Kevin getting banged up the way he did, you're incredibly young behind those guys. But because you've got those guys on the depth chart, what is it about those young players that you've seen already on the practice field that gives you confidence to put those guys on the depth chart? Now, obviously, their snap count's going to increase.
Yeah, just Coach Newberry does a really good job of coaching them. Losing Mitch is you just hate that for the kid. Just as a person, he's been an awesome young man. Not only has he played well, but he's a huge cog in our program. Everybody loves Mitch. So we hate that for him. He's worked so hard. Kevin's had a good week of rehab, so we're hopeful for his return. But the young guys, Taylor Robinson came against Air Force, played really well against them. Really encouraged by the way he played. Davion, he's got a young man that we're looking for big things for Ray, just as he comes in there and plays. Also got Josh Terrell back there. Derek Atwater's got hurt last year. But those are some young guys right now that, we're looking for. John Marshall, too, has also played some stuff in the secondary. There's so many different things that Newberry does back there. He uses a lot of different combinations of guys. And so as sad as it is for Mitch, and all the guys that love him are crushed, some other guys got to step up. It's a great opportunity for them.
Kids are human. Obviously, the kids that you get, they're the best and brightest for a reason. How do you, in particular, get the quarterback room to stay focused and not maybe feel a sense of burden for what went on last week, and help them stay focused on the task at hand as they try to get better each and every day?
Well, that was hard, man. That was hard. That was a hard deal. Probably one of the hardest deals I had to deal with as a coach. Those kids love Coach Jasper, so those kids were crushed. But Coach just came in, kept working like nothing happened, keep pressing forward. But like you said, people are human. You have feelings, you have emotions, but you have to do your best to press forward and subdue anything that happened, and focus on Houston. That's really been where our focus has been. Try to get ready for Houston. But it took a toll. It'd be lying saying if it didn't take a toll, but it took a toll.
Thank you.
Bill Wagner.
Well, can you talk a little bit about Houston, Coach? They've had 3 games. Obviously, Texas Tech was a tight game, and they were leading, and then kind of Texas Tech pulled away, and then they had 2 games in which they sort of won handily, Rice and Grambling State. What are you seeing out of Houston so far this season when you look at the tape?
Dana's a really good coach. They're always a good football team. Like you said, they should have won that game against Texas Tech. Sure, they're disappointed in that, but they're really, really good football team like they normally are. Super talented, always big and physical up front with really good athletes, long on the offensive line, really athletic on the defensive line, really good athletes. Tune their quarterback's a really good quarterback. We played against him a couple of years, and he knows Coach Holgerson's system. So it's always tough playing those guys. Really good athletes, good schemes, good coach. It's going to be a battle for us.
Speaking of the quarterback, there was a report that Clayton Tune has a hamstring issue. Do you have to prepare for the other guy just in case?
Yeah, you prepare. They're they're schematically for what they do, but yeah, we don't know. You prepare for Tune as if he's going to play, but schematically there might be some variations with the other quarterback playing, but I imagine they'll do what they do.
So when you look at the 6 games of this series you've had with Houston, all but one has been very high scoring, a lot of points. Do you sense that you might have to be prepared to score a lot of points to keep pace with a team that is prone to score a lot of points?
We like to beat our Navy, and I'll be able to, eat the clock, just play us and have one more point, whatever it takes. Just really the goal is to have one more point than them.
And it seems hard to believe that Houston's had 3 coaches in the time that you've played them. Is the program different under Dana? Has he dramatically changed offensive and defensive schemes from what Major Applewhite and Tom Herman did?
Well, there's always variations, in what people do. There's some similarities in what they do, but, Dana's a very successful football coach. He's got his own blueprint of how he does things and how he wants to do things, and they've proven to be very successful over the years. He's an experienced football coach, and this is going to be a tough challenge because, he's a really good coach, good players, and then that's a combination is a bad combination. So it's going to be a tough challenge.
Obviously, with them, I know there's no East-West anymore, but you've played them every year that you've been in the conference, and 2 of your biggest wins since you joined the AAC are over Houston. That one game here, I think it was 46-40. I can't remember specifically, but a very dramatic win. And then 2 years ago at Houston with the game that Jamal Carruthers ran wild. And, that was also a really nice win for Navy. Is this definitely a team that you get a victory over them and it means a lot?
We just need a win. we need a win. And so obviously beating them would be huge because they're a really good program going on the road. So we just, we're a team that's struggling right now. So we need a win. We just need to play well. Just, that's really our focus, just to be the best team and get back to Navy football. That's really our focus. And beating them obviously would be huge because, the respect that we have for them, how good they are, and our respect for them as a football program. But really, the bottom line, we just need a W.
Thanks. That's all for me.
Thanks,
Mike James.
Hey, Coach. A couple years ago, you talked a little bit about how one of the lessons you learned from the 2018 season was to not put Malcolm in on an offense that was kind of designed for Will Worth. But if you look at at this year, you're really juggling 2 quarterbacks with styles. The one you compared to Malcolm and one you compare to Will Worth. Does that make it difficult to kind of establish an identity as you go through this spring and fall and kind of settle on what it is you want to do?
Yeah, it does. But there's different things that you accentuate in offense. Maybe this guy, like you said, Mike, you kind of, put these as your premier plays, and you're putting more of an emphasis on certain plays. But kind of like to Diane's question, until you get a quarterback that establishes himself, you can get an identity of what it is and what you're going to do and what you're going to focus on. And probably right now we've been kind of dabbling in a lot as we're trying to get some success. But more so than that, our big emphasis is just trying to run our offense right now, just being able to execute our offense right now, Mike. That's been really our big focus. And then, maybe go from there, just what plays you kind of put more of a premium on during the course of the game. But your question is a great question, though.
Do you reach a point then where if you're juggling two different styles, you just kind of have to focus on a core, sort of a core group that they both run, and then once you pick someone, then you can move on to accentuate their strengths?
Exactly. That's exactly what's happening. We got, like people say, we run the triple option. I mean, we got so many variations of running options. It's not just one triple option. There's so many things, as triples, zone, all the different zone options, all the trap options, all the counter traps, inside veer, outside veer, midline. So there's, 3-man surface stuff. I mean, there's so many different things, and just trying to make sure we can get good at some stuff. And then when a guy, takes it and is able to run with it, then you can kind of, play to his skill sets a little bit more.
Well, and I guess sort of along those lines, then, do you kind of feel like no matter what you do, if you're an option team, you got to be able to do that because everything kind of flows from that?
Yes. So we got to be able to run the option first and foremost. In all of its varieties, and so we got to be able to do that.
Thanks, Coach.
Phil Bergman.
Coach, AAC play starts up this Saturday against Houston. It's a clean slate. What are you just preaching to the team ahead of this game?
We got a lot to play for. I mean, everybody wants to bury the season, so we got 10 games. We got 10 games, hopefully 11. And so after that, it's like the world ended last week when I don't know, we got so much to play for, and just, I guess that's the disappointing thing. You're so disappointed in a loss, but every loss, every win, you have to move on, especially so early in the season. Both non-conference games, we still got, Army at the end of the season. We still got all of our conference play. Phil, we got so much to play for. That's been our message to our team. Everybody's really, from outside world throwing in the towel. We ain't throwing in the towel. Nothing we do is throw. That's contrary to the Naval Academy. It's contrary to being an officer in the Navy and Marine Corps. Hopefully, when our people serve, they're not throwing in the towel. We don't throw in the towel. And so we got so much to play for, Phil. That's been our message. Just, you got the United States Naval Academy. You're here to be leaders for Navy and the Naval Academy and for Navy and Marine Corps, troops throughout the country, in the world. We got to keep fighting. That's been our message. Don't listen to all the other stuff. Nobody's throwing in the towel in our football program, and on the third floor, none of us are throwing in the towel.
The Mitch West injury got me thinking, at most schools you would just redshirt at this point, but at the Naval Academy you have your 4 years to play. Is this a humbling moment for the athletes to show, just to leave it all out on the field because you never know what could happen in your career?
Yeah, it's always tough. It's always tough when that happens. When a kid gets hurt, and then, there's no redshirt year and you feel bad for the kids, and, they got to press forward. But that is tough, Phil, because you never know when that day comes. And when it comes to those kids, you always tell that to them. When it comes, it's really emotional for those guys, those young men. Those are always hard conversations, very emotional for them when they know that their playing career is over. All of them, they're playing this since they've been little kids. It's really, really hard on them.
Coach, this begins a very rigorous 7-week stretch for you. 6 very difficult conference opponents, then Notre Dame. You don't have another bye week until the second week of November. Can you just talk about this stretch you're about to embark upon?
All of our arrows are towards Houston. We have to. That's the only thing we can think about. Can't look past. That's where all of our focus is. First and foremost, getting better ourselves. Making sure we're the best we can be, but we can't think about any of that. can't think about the last game. Can't think about it. All we can worry about is the next one, which is Houston. And guys, that's where we got to put all of our focus and our preparation right now is just Houston.
And just to piggyback on something earlier about the question about Texas, with Houston planning on vacating the league, as you look forward, obviously SMU still in there, certainly for now. How important would it be to try and maintain the Houston market or, another part of Texas if the league does plan to expand in some form, because Texas has been so good to you guys through the years?
Yeah, I'd imagine that, Mike Oresco and the presidents and chancellors and ADs have, are talking about all of that, but recognizing that the Houston market is a huge market for us. So, whatever they do, or the Texas market is big for us. So I'm sure they have their plans. Preseason, I used to think about that when that was happening. I was thinking about that, but we're trying to get some first downs, so I haven't thought too much about that right now.
Guys, as players, what's the 2 weeks been like? And with all that, after these first two games, with so much to work on, having that extra week to get ready for Houston from a player standpoint, how good has that been for you and your teammates here?
It's definitely been pretty good. Army was like a tough physical battle, so just being able to recover from that physically, was a great opportunity. Also, just giving us more time to get a good game plan for Houston, so we can master everything that we need to do in order to beat Houston.
So far, despite the fact that you and Isaac and all the other B-backs have had to work with different quarterbacks, how has developing that chemistry with that mesh gone over the first couple of weeks of the season here, despite having a couple of different hands handing you the ball?
Honestly, we knew that the quarterback position was really competitive. So even back like during spring, we were always swapping with Ty and X and even Masai. So we made sure, Coach Mack made sure that we was getting reps with everybody. So, if this situation, which did happen, we'll be ready. We have some kind of chemistry.
How's the body been so far with the most extended work of your career so far here?
It's good. I've been in the training room. Thankfully, I'm blessed to not have any injuries. So, just soreness after a game, but, I'm fine.
I'm good. Scott, go ahead.
Scott Wyckoff.
Hey, James, Scott Wyckoff from WBAL Radio in Baltimore. So many of your teammates are from Texas. What's the buzz around the locker room and around the hall when you guys are having a game down there like you are against Houston? They get to go back home.
Actually, I'm from Mobile, Alabama, so that's like the closest game for me. So I have a lot of family members coming as well. But yeah, there's a lot of people like Marcus Moore and Biscuit. He's from Louisiana, so he has a lot of family members coming as well. So it's still like the same mindset, just trying to win, but it's a little more exciting because they have their family members all in the stands, and I have my family members there. So it'll be a great opportunity.
You just look down the roster at the players in the defensive line for this Houston team, big size. What's that like for you guys going into a game like this, knowing you're going to be going up against some real big defensive linemen?
Honestly, that's like the good thing about the AAC. It's a lot of talent. We get to see NFL players every single year. So, it'll be like a huge challenge, but we're not really changing anything. We're going to go at it just like we have Notre Dame every single year. They have bigger players, but that's what makes Navy special. We come at it every single time, regardless of how big they are.
Thanks, James.
Let's go to Bill Wagner.
Well, James, how would you rate the confidence of the offense at this moment? I mean, you moved the ball against Marshall, but didn't finish. Then you didn't move the ball at all against Air Force. Where you feel like the unit as a whole has still got confidence in what it can get done?
For sure. That's like the main concept of it. Coach Ken just make sure he's harping on that we're staying confident or we're not, and just mastering the basics and make sure everybody's doing their job. If everybody does their job, then, we'll be fine. So after looking back at Marshall and seeing, what we did and how many times we got in the red zone, kind of made things more promising for us that we just got to put everything together. So, yeah, we're still confident. We still have our hopes up.
Do you see this Houston game, as a critical turning point, perhaps? If you can go on the road and beat a team that's picked to finish fourth in the American Athletic Conference, it changes the whole outlook of everything Do you see this as an opportunity to really change the narrative around this program at the moment?
For sure. We had the opportunity to be really good on the road. From the last two, that was like our learning stage. So getting this win against Houston would be huge for us. Progressing up to on the growing stage and like a bigger rise in action for us. So that'd be huge.
All good for me for now.
Kareem Copeland.
Hey, James, thanks for the time. I want to ask, sticking on the offense like that, I'm curious, I know it's not just one thing, but, what are some of the biggest things that you guys are really focusing on cleaning up this week?
Just making sure that everybody's doing their job. Like I said, looking back on film, there was one play where, a shoestring tackle from making a touchdown or just one missed block. So just making sure everybody on the field at the time, every single person, every single individual is executing and we're trying to finish. That's the main thing, just finishing and, doing your job, honestly.
Have things felt any different in this last week, or has it pretty much been like, business as usual as far as, there were some changes and things like that, but have you guys kind of put your heads down and kind of plugged away? There can't be drastic changes at this time. So I'm just curious what the last week kind of felt like.
Yeah, that was a lot of things that went down after Air Force, but the coaches made sure that we weren't distracted. Going on Twitter and reading posts that that would distract us going into Houston. So no, we just try to keep things normal. We still got the coaches. So just like the big thing, just not being distracted by certain things.
And just want to ask quickly about yourself. Just how have you kind of felt? I guess you kind of touched on it a little bit a minute ago with with more responsibility. But I'm just curious, how do you kind of feel as far as your progression and what's personally your biggest focus right now?
Just doing my job. I don't want to let my teammates down. This is my last season. So, I want to do everything I can do to win, whatever that is on the team. If I'm running the ball, blocking, whatever it is I need to do. But mainly just executing and, doing what I need to do in order to get these wins.
Cool. Appreciate you. Quick and easy for me.
Diane Roberts.
Diane Roberts from Behind the Lines Academy Football Report. Hi, thanks for making time for us today, James. Coach Ken just said to us that, the outside world might be throwing in the towel for you guys, your 0-2 offense kind of sputtering, but you guys aren't throwing in the towel. I wonder how you'd like to share with us how you are feeling and how your teammates are feeling, knowing how the outside world might be viewing you.
Honestly, I feel like that just comes with Navy football. Regardless of we're winning or losing, somebody always gonna have something to say. While being at the academy, just being a student athlete, there are certain people who has their opinions and views on you. So we're used to that. We had that last year. We had that the year before. So, it's nothing new. So coach has always been harping on that. So we just make sure we stay focused.
He also talks about how it's just not Navy football for you guys not to get in the end zone once you're in the red zone. Have you guys made some changes that you feel like you can course correct that for the game against Houston? Do you think I know Kareem touched on it a little bit. One thing, is it more than just every man has to do their job? Is it something bigger?
Nah, it's really not that complicated, with Navy football and how our offense works. Of course, we're learning from the losses that we have. So, we're going to have to make changes, but it's nothing crazy to what it may seem like from the outside world. It's just small things that build up and, make one huge problem. So.
Thanks.
Phil Bergman.
Hey, James, first road game of the season. Do you like playing on the road? Just what's it like for you?
I think it's good to get away from the academy. Being here, we have a lot of obligations. So just to get on the plane and relax, kick my feet up, get in a new hotel, just be in a new atmosphere. But the main objective is to win the game. But I actually like traveling on the road. We play a lot of good teams. Houston is a nice town. I have some family there, like I said. So I actually like being on the road.
Wondering, James, if you think the team is underperforming, or is that something that is what the outside world is seeing or saying? Do you guys are a very talented team. So are you underperforming?
I mean, I guess you can say that when it comes to execution. So if that goes in along the lines as that, then I believe you could say that. So
Scott Wyckoff.
Thanks a lot, James. Good luck.
thank you.
Pete Medhurst.
James, is this one of those moments, and obviously you've seen seniors before you, but is this one of those moments where the seniors have to kind of come together and, you know, find that extra leadership at a time like this?
I believe so. Now obviously it means a little bit more, you know, since this is it for us. So we're just making sure that, yeah, even though we have 2 losses, that's not what defines us. What defines us is like how we respond to that and how we will perform against Houston and the rest of our schedule. So just making sure that we're leading, you know, the younger guys under us, like, don't give up. You know, just not the end of Navy football. You know, we can still go up and do good things this season. We haven't even started conference games yet. Our first conference game is this Saturday, so we still have a lot to accomplish.
You were a 4x100 guy in high school, and the B-back position, knock on wood, statistically has had some success against Houston, including the last time you guys were there, 188 yards and 5 touchdowns. How much do you look forward to hoping to repeat that type of success? And how does that happen? Because with the B-back, it looks so simple, but obviously we know there's a lot of things that go into that. But how does a B-back have that kind of success this week for you guys against Houston again?
Just mastering the basics and just knowing what our job is. You know, it would be nice, you know, to have those type of statistics, but you know, it might be the A-backs game, it might be the receivers game, it might be the QB's game. So I'm not necessarily going in like, oh, this might be a big game. I'm going in like, okay, I'm gonna do whatever I need to do to win, whether it's make this cut block. It might be like a game plan change where I'm not getting the ball that much. So, you know, like I said, that'd be great, but I'm just focusing on, you know, making plays and whether that's having the ball in my hand or not.
And to have, as you mentioned, this is as close as you'll get to home, and to have those people come over along the Gulf Coast there to be able to see you play, you know, what will that feel like coming up this week to be able to at least have one game in front of maybe a few more folks than you might normally have to watch you play?
Yeah, it's really a blessing. You know, we don't really get to go home much, not in Thanksgiving. So just having a close game there, just to see my family members every once in a while, it'll be great to see my parents and whatnot. So it'll be cool to go back down to the South. I love the South. You know, that's where I'm from. So it'll be a great opportunity.
The South is also of late and over the last couple of years, you know, had so many issues with weather and destruction. Can you talk about the resiliency of people that live in your area and along that Gulf Coast, where no matter what seems to knock them down, they find a way to get back up? What is it about that resiliency that people just continue time after time to bounce back somehow and rebuild?
Yeah, hurricane season can be, you know, very detrimental, but at the same time, get hurricane warnings all the time. So it's just something that we're used to. We'll get a hurricane warning on our phone, and like, since we're so used to it, we'll go celebrate. We'll go to my grandma's house or something. So lately, like with the last storm, it wasn't too bad in my area back on Mobile. It was just like some flooding. So that definitely is a part of the culture in the South, just being able to fight through anything, whatever the conditions are. So
yeah, James, Houston announced they're going to the Big 12 just with conference play starting. Do you guys have something just a little more to prove against some of these schools that are now going to be in a new conference in a few years?
I mean, I believe so, but that's not like really our focus. You know, yeah, we saw about UCF in Houston and all the several other teams, but you know, we've beaten those guys before. So just going by week, so Houston would be our first opportunity to show, you know, that we're a good team as well, also in the AAC.